So, today is the 8th of May, and on this day, half a century ago, one of the most iconic goal celebrations was carried out at Wembley Stadium when Charlie George scored an injury time winner against Liverpool, handing Arsenal one of their many FA Cup victories as we won the game 2-1. And I thought I would like to make a cocktail to mark that, even though I am 100% sure that Charlie George is not much of a cocktail drinker. But this one I'm going to show you today is called the Charlie, and it was invented by Simon Difford when he was working at the Cabinet Room a few years ago. And funnily enough, I did meet Charlie George. There was quite a few years ago. I was working for the City Lit in London, and I was involved in a project to teach long-term homeless people some basic skills in an attempt to reintegrate them into living conditions that they could handle and slowly reintegrate into society after being long-term rough sleepers. And the project I was doing was teaching them some photography and some basic newsletter production. It was just a kind of an English project, really, English and art. And as part of that, one of the projects we did, we went to an event where Charlie George was speaking, and it was great. They took photos, they wrote about it, we carried out an interview. And as part of that, I asked Charlie George a question. He's this old North London kid, right? He went to the same school I did, Holloway Boys School. Was expelled, of course. Anyway, this is at a time of absolute dominance by the women's team for Arsenal. Arsenal ladies, they were called then. Now they're just referred to as Arsenal correctly. And so I said, Charlie, you're a successful player with Arsenal as well as in other places. What do you think about the success of the Arsenal ladies team? And he turns around and he says, women should just be in their kitchen, or something like that. So, yeah, sorry, bit of a misogynist, this geezer, it turns out. Nonetheless, that was an iconic goal celebration, and for that reason, we are going to make this what is essentially a version of a slightly sweet Manhattan. As it's a Manhattan, we are going to use rye whiskey, my favourite George Dickel stuff, and it takes 2 ounces of that. Sadly, I'm not wearing, I did have a sort of replica shirt from that year, but I'm wearing a goalkeeper's one instead of the yellow and blue, which leads Arsenal to fans to always be singing "She Wore a Yellow Ribbon." One of these days I'll sing that on one of these videos, but I'll run out of time if I do that right now. It's a marvellous song though. Anyway, so there's 2 ounces of rye whiskey, and now we are going to go some sweet vermouth, specifically Cinzano Rosso, but you can use any red or sweet vermouth that you have. This just takes a ½ ounce of that. And then the funny ingredient, what this drink was named after was actually someone who was involved with Chambord, which is a raspberry liqueur drink, and that's who Simon Difford named it after, the Charlie. Her name was Charlotte. I don't have that. I have this Chateau Monet, which is also a black raspberry liqueur, sweet stuff. Very fruity indeed. Again, fruity and Charlie George, I'm not too sure that those all go together as words, but there we go. We only need a ½ ounce of this. There we go. She'll add a nice purple sheen to it. Not a red one though, but then they were wearing yellow on the day, so it doesn't need to be red. And then the final ingredient is just a dash of Angostura bitters, like so. We are going to give that a good stir until it's nice and chilled. Try not to let any ice cubes escape, which usually seems to happen. And again, it's about 20 seconds of this. You're bruising the ice, as I've mentioned before. A bit like Charlie George would have done against a few opponents, I think. Oh, they're not broken though, so that's good. And then we are going to strain this into our chilled cocktail glass. Just there. And the only garnish in that is a maraschino cherry, not a football. And that goes in there. And let's see what we've got. Oh yes. Cheers, Charlie. Up the arse.